Hi everyone, I'm recording these comments after today's Sunday Mass, but you likely won't see this until later, so for reference, I'm referring to the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time. I love these readings and find they really speak to me as a farmer, sure, with the agrarian parable, but also just really as a person living in today's culture. But to start off, I've been among the farming culture my whole life. Within the farming world, traditionally your value can be at least partially tied to how hard of a worker you are, or at least it's easily perceived that way. It can even be the I'm only a good farmer, a good person, if I'm a hard worker mantra. But to be granted, there is a lot of work to be done. But there's this competitiveness to be a harder worker or more successful farmer than another. And I'll admit, I grew up wanting to see myself as valuable, as a hard worker, and to also have my parents, especially my father, see that too. To see me as valuable and a hard worker. We measure ourselves against other people, right? And in the example of farming, it's a classic look across the dirt road to the neighbor in his field. How's he doing? Did his crops look better than mine? Or how nice is the equipment on his farmyard? Did he just buy more cows and now maybe he has more livestock than me? Is he hardworking and more successful than me? Or at a more core level, asking myself, well, maybe he's a better farmer and thus a better person, a harder worker. I don't know. It's so easy to go on and on with farming examples, but to be really honest, it's definitely in all of us to some degree. This comparing ourselves to others is ingrained in the culture. Social media, where you scroll through a feed and see other couples' successes or seemingly perfect lives, can contribute to envy or self-esteem issues, right? We rank ourselves and based off of others' perceived success or attractiveness, or even, am I a better Christian than another? The words from the first reading ring importantly from God. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways. So God does not compare us. And that's truly what the gospel is about. I know when I was younger, my first reaction to this parable was, well, wait a minute, that's not fair. The guy that worked a little bit at the end of the day at the same pay as the one who worked the longest all day? What? And again, maybe because I had more of a bias than average, because my farm upbringing, where your helping hand value was somewhat attributed to how hard of a worker you were. So we measure ourselves up against others, but God simply doesn't do that, like ever. God's ways are not our ways. And if you're a child or a teenage student watching this, I'm willing to bet you've compared yourself to others in the classroom or hallway before. And if you're a parent, have you compared your own children or family life or marriage to others? How do you measure up, right? And how do I measure up in my community? Am I as good of a Christian as someone else? And am I as good of a farmer as my neighbor, right? So considering our culture and upbringings, it makes sense that I used to be bothered by the gospel parable and think it wasn't fair. Perhaps you have puzzled over it yourself. But remember that God's ways are not our ways. I know by the time you're watching this that Mass and readings are in the past, but I invite you to go back and read through them again, slowly, quietly, and allow Christ to remind you what he meant for you. Yes, you, not just the people of back then in that message. Reminding you that he does not compare, he never does, that he sees you, and that you are valuable to him, and that he loves you so very much.